Time for another award-winning mailbag edition of the Ravens Rundown. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. Coming up on today's show, we're going to answer your questions that you send us in our live edition of the Ravens Rundown, where people get in the chat, they use the hashtag Ravens, they super chat, and they get their questions answered in real time. And subscribers, they know when we go live because they get notified about it, and so they join us for our live shows. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and join the 9,000 plus that are subscribed to the channel and be a part of our award-winning mailbags here on the live shows. Let's get to our first question today. This one comes from James. James wants to know, hashtag Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. Any thoughts on the Florio comments that Lamar is ready to move on? Of course, one would have to say this to get actual offer sheets, but concerning nonetheless. Here's what I would say. Here's what I would start with. Consider the source in Mike Florio here, okay? If we're talking about the best NFL insiders out there, the newsmakers that know what they're talking about, Mike Florio is usually not one of them, okay? I mean, let's be real with you. Mike Florio, I have a lot of skepticism about, as I think most people that follow the insider game closely do, and a lot of his reporting is a little sus at times, and some of the things he puts out there is just not very good. It's not very well verified, according to from Mike Florio. So take that with a grain of salt, if you will. With that said, the idea that Lamar is ready to move on of some sorts, I think that could be the case. I wouldn't rule that out. But remember, if he really was ready to move on, he could have said, demanded a trade of some sorts or told the Ravens, I'm not going to negotiate or something like that. The fact that he's still waiting here and has a chance to be back in Baltimore, that tells me that, something's not accurate here, that something is wrong. I lean towards that Florio is wrong in this, but we'll see. Thanks, James. BJ writes in, I started playing Madden franchise mode, and I've become a wide receiver for the Ravens. And currently have 11 touchdowns, just finished the 9th week. Well, I think the Ravens could probably use you at receiver, BJ. Even with your success at Madden, who's to say that you wouldn't have success with being on the Ravens field with how much they need receiver help at this point? With that said, BJ, I think the Ravens wide receiver room, I know that free agency kind of got off to a slow start at this point, but I would expect the Ravens receiver room next year, when it's all said and done, when we get through the offseason, to look a whole lot different, comparably speaking, to what we saw last year. Yes, you get Rashad Bateman back, but really, Demarcus Robinson, you want to roll with him? Some of these other guys, Devin Duvernay, James Prochet, James, some of these other cats that have been on this team, I got a lot of concerns about. So whether it's you playing receiver or somebody else out there, I think the Ravens need to make some wholesale changes. And whether it's the draft, some trades, heck, even some guys that are still out there in free agency, be patient. The Ravens will make some moves at the receiver position. They have to improve. Mike says, do we have any chance to sign Odell Beckham? So at the time of this recording, OBJ says that he's not looking for $20 million, but he sure wants more than $4 million. I think OBJ, the possibility of him coming to the Baltimore Ravens, is all dependent on what the Ravens get done with Lamar Jackson. I don't think that OBJ is wanting to come to Baltimore if Lamar is not there. I think it's Lamar that makes that attractive for him, based on when you look at the teams that OBJ has been interested in, that he's kind of talked to of some sorts. All of them have pretty decent quarterback play when you look at some of these other teams. So I think more than likely if you want to bring OBJ in, you got to finish this Lamar situation, get a resolution of some sorts first before you can bring in OBJ. Should Baltimore sign OBJ? What do you think? If you want them to sign OBJ, type OBJ for yes. If you don't want them to sign OBJ, type no BJ for no. That's OBJ for yes. That's no BJ for no. Let me know in the comments section what you think. Kenneth writes, who do you see us getting at QB1 if Lamar wants out? Kenneth, great question there. So this is pretty interesting, right? You look at the free agent quarterbacks. Let's kind of break them down one by one. Derek Carr, of course, ended up with the New Orleans Saints. Baker Mayfield ended up going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sam Darnold is with Carolina. Jimmy G is with Las Vegas. All the free agent top quarterbacks pretty much all gone at this point. Then you look at the other ones. Geno Smith ended up going back to Seattle. Aaron Rodgers, who was a trade candidate, sounds like he's going to the New York Jets. So basically, of all the veterans, you don't have a choice. There's not any veteran out there. I guess you could roll with Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley. That's an option. He's probably the best backup option that you have of the veterans that are out there. With that said, if Lamar is gone, then I think you're either rolling with Tyler Huntley or you are looking to the draft. Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, whoever's available of that bunch. If Lamar is gone, I think it's Huntley or it's one of those guys, unless you were to make a trade with a team that already has a quarterback and wants Lamar, like if they're looking to upgrade, like a Tannehill or a Kirk Cousins. Long answer, but I think that's what the quarterback options are for the Ravens at this point. Courtney says, if Lamar moves on, should we go with Stroud or Richardson? Well, I think that there's a pretty decent chance that with the number one pick, the Carolina Panthers are going to go with C.J. Stroud. It sounds like that they really like what C.J. Stroud brings to the table. They like his game, the arm talent, the size, the athleticism, all that stuff. He looks the part. But if they don't go that route, then you start to open up a can of worms. Remember, C.J. Stroud, before Carolina moved up to number one, everybody was projecting him to having a possibility of sliding in the draft because Anthony Richardson was moving up in the draft. So if you made me choose between the two, I would go C.J. Stroud over Anthony Richardson. With that said, the more likely scenario, I think, would be the Ravens finding themselves with Anthony Richardson. I think he's the one that's more likely to end up in Baltimore if it were between these two because of Stroud's chances of going number one. I don't think Anthony Richardson is going number one. I like Stroud better than Anthony Richardson. I think Stroud's a much more accurate quarterback. Anthony Richardson really struggles when it comes to accuracy and getting the football down the field. He's a heck of an athlete, but I have my concerns with him as a passer. So that's what I would say. Ravens jerseys on sale now while supplies last, whether you want to rock out with Lamar Jackson in the black uniform or if you want to represent Odafe Oweh in the purple uniform. Maybe it's Ray Lewis, Mark Andrews, some of these throwback jersey colors, whatever it may be. We have everything covered for all Baltimore Ravens fans in all shapes and sizes. We got you covered. Whether you want to represent some of the current players or some of the Ravens of old, doesn't matter. We got you covered as you can get your jerseys now. I know it's the offseason, but there's no offseason for the flock out there. You can represent your favorite Ravens players. Get your jerseys today. Chatsports.com/Ravens jersey. What are you waiting for? We got them all in one place. On sale now. Chatsports.com/Ravens jersey. Whitty writes in, what do you think about a quarterback like Hooker or McKee and draft a wide receiver or a corner in round one? Hendon Hooker from Tennessee is coming off that ACL injury. And if you're the Ravens and you're looking to draft a quarterback, it's because Lamar Jackson's gone, right? You don't have time to waste. You can't be sitting around and waiting for a Hendon Hooker to come off an ACL injury. Not to mention he's already like 25 years old anyway. McKee, I don't think is that great, to be honest, so I'm not even going to give him the time of day. With that said, wide receiver or corner, I prefer wide receiver, but corner's in need as well. Kind of depends on, too, what are the Ravens going to find? I think they're still going to make a signing of some sorts in free agency. If it's like Rock Ya-Sin, for example, then you don't have the need at corner necessarily that you had before. At wide receiver, if you get OBJ or something like that, then you don't necessarily have to go get the Jordan Addisons, Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnstons, Jackson Smith, and Jigsbys of the world. So we'll see. So with that said, I prefer wideout over corner, but we'll see what the Ravens do. Jason writes, would you want Bijan in round one? Bijan Robinson, terrific football player out of the University of Texas, the favorite school of producer Sam Brown. Bijan is incredible. I think that he's got a lot of talent. It is going to be something special in the National Football League. With that said, look what the Ravens are doing at running back. Okay? I mean, Gus Edwards just restructured his deal. J.K. Dobbins finished off the season strong. Heck, even Justice Hill is back. The Ravens are not prioritizing the running back position. Not saying they won't draft a running back later on, but as of right now, that doesn't seem to be their area of focus of some sorts, is that running back position at this point. So I don't think that the Ravens are going to go running back. And Bijan Robinson, as good as he is, I would say this. Usually I'm opposed to drafting a running back in the first round. I think I am for Baltimore because you have other needs. I'm not opposed for other teams potentially to get a player like Bijan. But with that said, I don't think he's going to be around at 22. I think somebody is going to take a flyer on Bijan and go with him from there. So Bijan, great player, but I'd be shocked if he ends up as a Raven. Got to subscribe to the channel, folks. Look, we're doing these mailbags, doing these live shows every other week, and we have such a good time doing these mailbags. I got to tell you, this is one of my favorite things that we do. Subscribe to the channel, join our live mailbags, turn on notice so you never miss a moment. Simple as that. YouTube.com/RavensTV to subscribe today. Does not cost you a thing. Subscribe now. You'll be glad you did. Let's get to a super chat from Baltimore Get Up. That means I owe the wave. Here we go. Woo! I hate doing the wave, but if you guys want that, we'll do it. $5 super chat from Baltimore Get Up says, my hope we trade Patrick Queen for DeAndre Hopkins in some kind of deal. Draft Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State. Draft Bryce Ford, Wheaton, or Puka Nuka with a late pick. Okay, so there's a lot to dissect there. Okay, I could see Patrick Queen traded. I really could. Depends on how confident the Ravens are in Malik Harrison. If they like what they see from Malik Harrison, then yeah, you can move on for Patrick Queen. I don't know if that's in a deal for D-Hop. I'd like to see D-Hop come to Baltimore potentially, but don't know if those two coincide. JSN would be good. That sounds good to me. Yeah, we'll see what the Ravens do, but Baltimore Get Up, I think you got some really good ideas there potentially for the Baltimore Ravens. We'll see what they do. Thanks for sending us the super chat there. Here's another wave for you, just because. All right, another one from Underwood here writes, Sari, what are the chances now that another team comes in with an offer for Lamar? I don't think the chances are very high at this point. Now, with that said, it only takes one team, right? It only takes one team to break the mold, and teams could change their mind. I know that the discussion right now is that there's collusion among these teams in the NFL and that they're all on the same page, that they don't want to offer guaranteed contracts and such. But think about the NFL ownership, right? These are all billionaires. And, you know, they could stick it to each other. I mean, Jim Irsay has stepped out of line from the rest of the NFL at times. He needs a quarterback. Maybe the Colts could do that. Maybe it's the Titans or the Vikings that it looks like you think that they are going to hold on to their quarterbacks, but maybe they have a change of heart and find a situation that suits them. So we'll see, but I don't think we're going to see another offer, but that could change. What's your confidence level? Lamar returns to the Ravens next year? Scale it for me, 1 through 10 in the comments section. How likely you think it is Lamar is back? I'd put it at about an 8 right now. What say you? Put a number on it. Chances Lamar is back next season. Mary writes, any chance of re-signing Marcus Peters? Marcus Peters, I think, is kind of your last resort of some sorts when it comes to being your CB2, your other outside corner. Here's what I mean by that. You got young guys on the free agent market like a Rock Sin, right, who I prefer over Marcus Peters that is just now starting to enter his prime potentially. He's out there. You look at the draft, and you have Christian Gonzalez from Oregon, Joey Porter Jr., Devin Witherspoon, a number of these guys here. I would look at all those guys before I'd look at taking the money it takes to pay Marcus Peters. If he wants to come back and play for a discount, maybe, but Marcus Peters is older now, and he also is at a situation where I would say that he's kind of lost his step of some sorts, and he's dealt with injuries here. It's going to have to be a deal where he's not taking a whole lot of money to bring back Marcus Peters. I don't think it's going to happen, but I want to roll it out. Mark writes, odds on picking Stetson Bennett with a late rounder. Monk can turn him into a potential Heisman winner. Stetson Bennett, are we really doing this? Are we really going there? Stetson Bennett. Oh, my gosh. Don't get me started on Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett is not an NFL quarterback. I don't want him on my team as a backup. If you want Stetson Bennett just because he won 2 national titles, you don't know ball. Okay? Simple as that. Stetson Bennett, no. I get that there's the Monken relationship and all that. We say potential Heisman winner. Was he really, though? I know he got an invite, but that should have been Hendon Hooker, not him getting that invite. Stetson Bennett, no. Not going to do it for me. I'm not going that route. Stetson Bennett, no thanks.